Hello there and welcome once again to the Mayor's Magazine. I'm Mick Cornett, the Mayor of Oklahoma City, and this is our program for September of 2017. We're going to start with an interview with Gary Cox. Gary Cox runs the Oklahoma City County Board of Health, and he's coming in to share some information that'll, I hope, kind of wrap up a lot of questions that people might have about how are we doing, because we know as a state, Gary, we have struggled, and Oklahoma City, has been right there with them throughout the year. And I know you and your staff have been working really hard on a lot of the key indicators of public health. And I think we're all excited to, to kind of find out how far the city has come and if we're heading in the right direction.
Well, I think we've made great progress, Mayor. And as a matter of fact, we just had an assessment that came out that covered the years 2013 through 2015, that 3-year period. And it really shows some remarkable results. And so this is really the whole community working together. It's not the health department or any one agency. As you know, the problems are just too massive for one group just to make the difference, but everybody working together. So it's been the hospitals, and it's been the things that you've been doing and talking about the culture of health and the importance of health in our community. It's been about community-based organizations and the school system and many others working together to improve health. So we've had great results.
Well, let's start back at the beginning. So as a public health professional, you enter this scene in 2013 and you're thinking, okay, where do we start? Because there are so many different health statistics out there you could gravitate toward. And so how did you address it when you started looking at the broad number of health statistics and health outcomes?
Well, the way we looked at it is, what's killing people, what's making them sick. And that's cardiovascular disease or heart disease. And so that's the biggest killer. And so that's where we started our emphasis. And so we really started back even in before those years trying to identify a high risk group that were at risk for heart disease and heart deaths. And so we continued and started a program called My Heart. And we partner, and so we have the medicine, we have the medical part of it, but we have the public health part too, which is the wellness classes, smoking cessation, trying to work on losing weight if that's one of the goals, get the people on blood pressure medicine if they need it, on cholesterol-lowering drugs if those are needed. It's been very successful. Currently we have over 200 people, high-risk folks, that are enrolled in that program currently. And so now we started in northeast section of Oklahoma City, and now we've spread that effort to more areas in the county, and it's showing great results.
And was that an area of the city that was in one of the highest need?
Yes, we started out, and when we did our first assessment, this is our third assessment. When we did our first assessment, it showed that zip code 73111 was the most challenged. And so we poured a lot of resources into that area. And with the cardiovascular disease prevention is one area that we did that in. As you know, we also put the Northeast Health and Wellness regional campus there. And we've had 36,000 people that went through that center in 2016. And so it's not just the services we provide, but we have OU physicians there. We have the YWCA, the food bank, and many other partners that are bringing a lot of resources to an underserved area. I think all those things make a difference.
Well, when you look at an underserved area, it goes, well beyond the outcomes. You have, and sometimes, not great access to healthy foods. So if you're wanting to improve nutrition, it's not as easy as it might be for someone who lives in a different zip code. They may not also have the built environment that's conducive. In other words, are there sidewalks where they could walk to a park if that was something they wanted to do? And you mentioned the schools. The schools play an important part of the overall health of a community because that's where the kids are likely to get breakfast and lunch and get most of the nutritional information that they're going to receive. So how did you tackle some of those kind of built-in disadvantages?
Well, and you're exactly right. A lot of this is about access. Do you have access to sidewalks so that you can walk, parks? Do you have access to biking trails? And do you have access to community gardens for fresh fruits and vegetables and things of that nature? So on our Northeast campus, we actually have a community garden. And so, different classrooms, schools, individuals can come in and grow their own fresh vegetables. And so we also partner with the food bank, and so they're out there periodically, and they have fresh fruits and vegetables available as well. So those are key things. We also, and what you've done and the community's done with the MAPS program is just the built environment is so important, because the increased sidewalks, biking trails, parks, and all of that, it gives more people access to be able to be physically active. And so that's making a huge difference over time.
And I know there's been efforts inside the schools also to try and make health and nutrition information one of the key components of a complete education for a young person.
That's absolutely true. As a matter of fact, we started back during this period of time before this latest assessment. We started a great partnership with Oklahoma City Public Schools, and we went to 14 high-risk schools, and we put in programs there that address the whole child, the whole family and the whole community and the whole school. And so it was very helpful, and it provided a lot of services and a lot of, I guess, a lot of services to folks that really did make a difference in our schools. And you get more, as you know, you get more results if you start younger with the children that we have. And I know that you know this, and it's something that you preach, but it's so important. If we want to have a vibrant and healthy city or a healthy state, it's important to prioritize health and wellness and education, and show the linkage between health and education and wellness and the economy and jobs, because as you know, it's like a three-legged stool, and all of them are critical, and one depends and interrelates on the other one. And so as we put more and more emphasis in those areas, we're going to have a more vibrant community to live in.
Well, let's talk about some of the results that you've seen.
You bet. Well, I mean, it's great news. So during this period of time, we had all deaths declined by over 4%. So, I mean, in a 3-year period of time, that's remarkable. It's really remarkable that the community is working together. Heart disease deaths down by over 5%. And this is a really big one. Stroke mortality is down 14%. I think the My Heart initiative, working with high-risk folks, I think that had an impact on that. The hospitals are doing a lot of work on stroke prevention and treatment. I think that all plays in. A lot of people coming together. All cancer deaths are down 7% in a 3-year period of time. Prostate cancer, for example, is down almost 10%. Breast cancer deaths are down almost 9%. And so, even suicides, which we've really been worried about, was down over 6.5% during that period of time.
Now, are other communities or other cities across the country showing similar results? Is this a national trend, or is this something that is a highlight for Oklahoma City and Oklahoma County?
Well, as you know, that the health in Oklahoma in general is not good compared to the rest of the United States. But I think we're catching up here. Mm-hmm. I think we're really making big gains. Our smoking rates are getting better, and they're still high, but mm-hmm. they're getting a lot better. And so I think we are really poised to really make some big gains here in Oklahoma City and Oklahoma County.
What about Tulsa? Have you kept tabs on that community?
We have, but we have not gotten the results yet. But
okay.
We should have those soon. But it'll be interesting to see how they parallel Oklahoma City and Oklahoma County.
Tell us about your campus and how people can get involved if they perhaps have not been involved before.
Well, the campus is northeast 63rd and MLK, just east of MLK. Just north of Remington Park, and it offers all kinds of services. We have all of the public health services we do, the immunizations and TB and the WIC services, women, infants, and children services, all of the wellness classes and all of the things that we offer. And then we have OU physicians, so they do primary care, a full range of primary care. And then we also have folks like the food bank and others that are providing. The YWCA, Latino Community Development Agency, has a presence there, are all providing services there as well. We have the walking trails, the community gardens, exercise stations. We partner with the energy We have two professional soccer fields there. They do kids camps there all the time. Every evening there, they've got a kids camp or someone there. They're working with kids and mentoring them. That helps to get not only kids and their families active, but it gets them aware of what's offered there at the campus that they might be able to take advantage of as well. And so there a lot of people go through there, so there's 36,000 plus. We've just broken ground in Southern Oaks in South Oklahoma City, and that campus will be ready in about 12 months. And then the last piece of that would be we're looking forward to having a presence in Northwest Oklahoma City, and that's on the drawing boards now, but we've not started construction on that as yet.
Okay.
But we expect to see 50,000 people served in South Oklahoma City, and that many in Northwest Oklahoma City as well.
We'll hear a lot about state funding and cuts. Now, how are you funded, and are you a victim of those cutbacks?
We are affected by that. For example, we are losing our last year of funding on our teen pregnancy prevention program, which has shown great success. As a matter of fact, this report shows a reduction of 22% reduction in teen pregnancies. And of course, why this is important is because there's two things that almost assuredly will happen if a young woman gets pregnant in their teens. Number one, the child will probably be born in poverty, and number two, the mother will live in poverty as well, and that directly impacts the health. And so, if we can delay and reduce the teen pregnancies, that's going to be a lot more people are going to be living with better jobs and have better health outcomes. So that's one of the things that's really been impactful, I think.
And if people want to support you and your efforts, what should they do?
Well, I would say if you want to go online and look at this report, it's the wellness score. Yeah. And it's got a lot of information in it. And so like community groups, if they want to write grants or they need information, you can find a wealth of information there. So that's on our website. And then also we have, as you know, the Wellness Now Coalition that's very active, that actually you started and Commissioner Ray Vaughn started in April of 2010. It started with just a handful of partners. Now it's up to over 350 partners that are working together, 8 different work groups that are working, and they meet every month. And they don't just meet to meet, they actually have goals, and they pull in community partners to help meet those goals. And so they're a big part in the success that we're having.
All right. Gary Cox is the person in charge of the Oklahoma City County Board of Health, reporting really good news on some improvement in some very key statistics. Gary, thanks for your work.
Yes, sir.
And please pass along our appreciation to your staff. I know that they do a wonderful job over there.
Thank you very much.
All right. We'll have more on the Mayor's Magazine right after this.
The best way to prevent West Nile and other mosquito-borne illnesses? Fight the bite. Wear long sleeves and pants when you're outdoors, and use insect repellents with DEET. Clear gutters of debris and drain standing water from objects in your yard, like bird baths, kids' toys, and wheelbarrows. Keep mosquitoes out of your home by fixing window and door screens. And avoid traveling to Zika-affected areas, especially if you're pregnant or planning to become pregnant. To learn more, visit fightthebiteok.com.
Psst, down here. That dog has a thirsty look in his eye. Did you know that it's really not that hard to save water? Excuse me, spraying me on the streets like putting me down the drain. In the heat of the day, I disappear before I can help. So, water after bedtime? Hey, we're in a drought, which means I'm kind of a big deal. So save me. Really, save me!
Welcome back to the Mayor's Magazine. In this segment, we're going to talk about the arts and its economic impact and how we're doing in central Oklahoma and statewide about delivering the arts to the people who live here. Julia Kurt is the Director of Oklahomans for the Arts, and she is here with Kelsey Carper, who's the Project Manager for the Arts and Economic Prosperity Report. Welcome to the Mayor's Magazine.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And I think that the case for arts as an economic tool is getting stronger and stronger. And so which of you two could probably speak to that? When some people think of the arts and then they think of jobs and the economics, it's way over here, and they don't know that there's a lot of connections between the two.
Yeah, actually in this report, we also looked at a recent study from the National League of Cities, which identified kind of the top issues that city leaders were facing. And economic development, of course, was number one. And they identified 5 key subject areas within that, with arts and culture being one of those 5 areas, including, downtown development and jobs and that kind of thing. But arts and culture was one of those key areas for economic development. So it really is being recognized quite widely now, I think, as a tool.
How does that work? If you had an area of let's say a city that seemed to be struggling economically, how would you insert the arts in a hope to raise the per capita income of people that live there?
Well, I think what we've seen in Oklahoma City is a really good example of that are commercial districts that are special, unique spaces like your Plaza District, your Capitol Hill. They've built around that unique identity, attracting artists, attracting cultural events, and it makes people feel more pride in that area. Vacancy rates go down, activity and economic activity go up, business starts. I know that all those districts track amazing amounts of business starts. It's really good for the city.
Yeah, the Plaza District is a great example that I would love to see someone explore it specifically, because that was in one of our weed and seed areas as one of the lowest performing areas of the city, a place that we had to use additional police officers to get in and try to weed out the negative elements and try to figure out how we could seed that area of the city and have it to grow and prosper. And here we are looking back between 5 and 10 years and seeing that this type of regrowth is amazing to see it come back that quickly, at least amazing to me. But what you had in the Plaza District that not every area has, first of all, you have some great architecture to start with. And I always think architecture helps. If you go into an area that has a few abandoned strip malls and you're trying to see, let's turn this around, well, that's a little bit harder to go into some existing architecture where it looks like there's some substance there. And I'll just throw this out for the Plaza District. Wayne Coyne never left. And I always thought that, that may just be one guy living on a double lot, but I always thought that sent a certain psychological message to the area that
he really is a champion for that area in a lot of ways.
Well, and I think it's that idea of like artists as pioneers. He was willing to be a pioneer in an area that had been abandoned by a lot of people and decided to be a homeowner and really cared about his neighborhood and talked about it with passion and fervor, But then I think Plaza's great because it's public and private investment that have turned it around. So like the city invested in those commercial districts and they've seen huge results, right? Streetscapes made a difference, but then you had private entities like Lyric Theater made the commitment to move to the Plaza, and that was a huge turning point, led by Lou Kerr. So you have these private leaders that really pushed it in tandem with the public investments.
And then eventually profitable businesses emerged.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you're seeing redevelopment of all kinds of properties that had been abandoned and new construction. I mean, it's a pretty wonderful community now.
Yeah, and of course the city's played a role with streetscape projects and efforts on abandoned housing to try and get owners to do the right things. And now we're even seeing outside investors going in there and buying up homes, people from out of the state that are just looking for turnaround properties. And so I mean that's amazing for for people that can invest their money anywhere in the world. And they choose a former decaying part of Oklahoma City, because that's where I want to put money in. And I think there's a lot of variables in that, but it is something that the community should find as a success story and the result of a lot of things.
Well, and I think many people would cite the arts as key in that. Attracting artists, the early artists who started their businesses there, despite it maybe not being the best business model at the time. There weren't a lot of retail shoppers in the Plaza when a lot of those businesses started, but artists were ambitious and kind of as entrepreneurs. And then you've got those nonprofits that are anchoring and bringing in, you've got audiences for Lyric coming and spending their money. You've got those classes. You have a lot of artists who've committed to that area.
And it's created a vibrant neighborhood where people feel free to get out and walk around the neighborhood and feel safe, at the same time. And all of that is vitally important. What else can we learn about the economic prosperity of the arts?
Well, one thing related to what you were just saying that I think those of us who work in the arts kind of know intuitively, but this report really proves is that one thing that's kind of unique about the arts and culture sector is that it does attract a huge number of people in the form of audiences. Audiences are key to arts and culture, delivering their programs, and that those people go to arts events, but that they also spend money in relation to attending that event well beyond just the cost of admission of buying a ticket. And we found that in Greater Oklahoma City, that audiences were spending around $40 per person whenever they attend an event, and that's on going out to eat, transportation, souvenirs, that kind of thing. But if there's someone who's coming from out of town to attend an event, they're actually spending almost 3 times as much. So it's, I think, something that the arts and culture sector should be really proud of, is that attracting those audiences, but then also inspiring them to explore the areas where those events are happening.
Well, and one of the biggest changes we found from the last study we did was in audiences. I think our arts and culture groups are really sophisticated in their marketing now, and they're attracting people from the outside. So in our statewide study, we had 12% of visitors came from outside the state, so they're coming in with their money into the state. And then it was much higher in the Central Oklahoma region. We had more than 12.7 million visits recorded in that 1 year time span.
We're visiting with Julia Kurt and Kelsey Carper. They're explaining the pivotal role that arts can play in growing a community, especially on the economic side. We'll be right back.
Did you know that the arts make a significant impact on education, the economy, and our quality of life in Oklahoma? Providing more than 10,000 jobs statewide, filtering more than $314 million into our economy? Yes, the arts create all kinds of beautiful things. And making Oklahoma an even better place to live is the most beautiful thing of all. It doesn't take a big donation to make big things happen. Support Allied Arts today. A little give is all it takes.
At Embark, we're not just stops on a map or collection of random people. We are a community connected.
Since I usually don't get off till around 11, having this late night route is really a stress reliever for me.
Our choices on where to live, work, learn, meet, and play grow with the connections we create. And with strong connections come economic opportunities and vibrant communities. Where public transit goes, community grows. Plan your journey at embarkok.com.
I'm Lee Criswell with Street Maintenance. Help us while we repair your city streets. Please slow down and be alert in all work zones.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Magazine. I am joined in this segment. Closest to me is Laura Massanet. She's the co-founder of Factory Obscura. And Kelsey Carper is back from the last segment. She's the current studio curator of Shift. So Laura, why don't you explain your aspect of this conversation?
All right, well, it was very interesting to hear your economic discussion earlier, because we are bringing a huge economic impact to Oklahoma City. Factory Obscura is at the base a group of people who will be bringing a huge immersive art experience to Oklahoma City. I don't want to say it's like what you've seen in other cities, but I will say that we were inspired by what we have seen at City Museum in St. Louis and by Meow Wolf in Santa Fe, if those are familiar projects to you. And so we're looking at bringing a really huge project to the city that will impact the way artists are valued and paid, and will hopefully have a big impact on development in a new district that we expect to rise. But we're starting at Current Studio with Kelsey and Romy in our temporary exhibit called Shift.
All right, let's talk about the Current Studio. Kelsey, what can you tell us?
Yeah, so Current Studio, we co-founded it with my creative partner Romy Owens last year, and we started the space really to make a venue for artwork that might have trouble finding space elsewhere, things that are really more about creating an experience for the audience, or about an artist expressing an idea, and not so much about maybe making sellable objects, which is what a lot of galleries are focused on. So we wanted to create something slightly different, and so we've been doing that since early 2016, and then whenever we found out what Factory Obscura was planning, we decided to kind of incubate this idea within our space. So we invited Factory Obscura to be our artist in residence for the fall. And in fact, it's happening right now. The installation is under construction, and we're in the process of building this fully immersive artistic environment that people will be invited to engage with and interact with, and you know, really develop their sense of play, you know, get back in touch with that. But an entire environment that's created by a team of artists.
And you're having visitors and people are coming in?
Yes, well, the exhibition will open on November 9th with a preview reception, and then it'll be open through February to the public with free admission for people to come and experience the installation.
Give me an example of one of the items in there. You're talking about being interactive with the art, so give me an example of what
Yeah, so we're really working towards creating something that is a little different than your typical art experience, where maybe you go into a gallery or museum and look at something hanging on the wall, which is a relatively passive experience. But what we're creating is something that you'll be invited to actually, you know, climb through some things or crawl through some things, or, you know, interact with some things, and that might actually cause an effect or a change within the space. The environment itself might react to the people who are within it. So similar to things that you might think of, like the Science Museum is very interactive.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like a children's
but it's
museum.
very, a lot of people, when we describe it, think of it as a children's museum, but it's really not geared specifically towards children. It's really for people of all ages, which is something that makes it a little different, I think, than a lot of other things people have experienced, because it's not just for kids. It's also for adults, and we think it's really valuable that adults have these kinds of opportunities
ultimately, is the message part of a cause, or are we looking for social change here as the end result? What's the goal of having the people interact? What emotions are you trying to inspire in them?
Well, one thing that we recognize is that people are more and more interested in experiences versus things.
Right.
And so we're really trying to create an experience for people to engage with art in a really new way. But beyond that, the bigger picture is really creating a new kind of structure for how art is created and presented, and how artists can be supported and paid for the work that they do. So the model that we're following, as Laura said, is very much inspired by Meow Wolf in Santa Fe, that's had a lot of success financially since they opened in early 2016, and has really become a big driver of tourism for Santa Fe, which is already a great tourist town, but has brought a whole new element and a new audience that's coming to see this one thing specifically. So we think we see that potential here, not only to create a tourist destination, but also to create a new way of supporting artists in Oklahoma City.
And Laura, will Factory Obscura be a physical place soon? Are you hoping to put something together?
Yes, we're working on the real estate piece of that right now. We're hoping to go west of downtown in the new district we all think is coming, right?
Yeah. And what is the business model? Is this requiring philanthropy or
This is a for-profit business. We are a B Corp. So we're a corporation that is at public benefit. We exist to benefit the public. So we have a social benefit side. We will also be profitable and repay our investors. And then we will support our own foundation that will do work with education and with kids. We want to get mentoring programs going, internships, and have a big impact also on kids' education and on their creativity.
Are there grants available?
There definitely will be grants. Our first piece at Current Studio, we're taking more as a standard, make a donation, help us get this project together. But then the Factory Obscura piece will be looking for investors.
All right. Are you looking for artists for the November opening or the October opening, or is the deadline already passed?
Right. We've already assembled our team of artists that have been meeting for months, in fact, since the spring, to come up with the whole concept for the installation, and now doing the physical work of actually building it. So we have a team already in place for Shift, which opens in November. But beyond that, even before we get to the permanent location that's in the future, we are planning some interim installations that will hopefully grow kind of in scale each time we do something. So we will be adding artists to our team as we go along.
Well, it opens November 9th, at least this presentation. Do you want people to come by earlier than that, or are they just going to be in the way?
Well, we are accepting volunteers, actually, because it really takes a lot of hands to make something like this possible. So if people visit the website, they can sign up to be a volunteer and get a little peek early before it
we would
opens to the
appreciate
public.
having their hands in that project.
Laura Massanet, Kelsey Carper, doing so much for the art scene in Oklahoma City. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
We really are becoming a richer community because of their work and a lot of other people. I hope you'll enjoy that exhibit, which shows up Thursday, November 9th at the current studio. Hope you've also enjoyed this show. It's the Mayor's Magazine. We'll be back next month with another episode. See you then.